Helldivers 2 seems to be having a big problem with its identity. From contradicting balance philosophies, marketing, and player expectations, Helldivers 2 has been through a lot lately trying to figure out what it wants to be. And today, we will be asking the question, is Helldivers 2 having an identity crisis? So,
Okay.
I'm just going to pass it to you. What do you think about Helldivers 2? And if it's having an identity crisis or not?
Okay, well that's a very broad, open-ended question, but it's fine.
Yeah.
My opinion is I think Helldivers actually does know what it is.
Yeah.
And so I think that there's a large amount of the community that doesn't quite get the game.
So then, can I ask a clarifying question then?
Yeah.
So, if Helldivers 2 is not having an identity crisis, in your opinion, what is Helldivers 2 identity?
So I think fundamentally it's a horde shooter, right? And
Yeah.
but like its identity, like I use the word identity very, very broadly. So that's like branding, gameplay style, its character,
Yeah.
its lore, it's whatever. Like I think Helldivers is a game where you like look at it and it's like it's not trying to be a different game. Like it is still very much Helldivers, right? So that kind of explains it really poorly because it's very broad. So where I think people think there's a crisis when it comes to balance or perception of balance.
Yeah.
So that's where I think there's a lot of back and forth. There's a lot of changes, and it just doesn't seem like they have a clear explanation of what is the balance philosophy or what they're balancing around, you know?
Yeah. And this is what I'm going to say. I think that Helldivers 2, it's specifically having an identity crisis with its balance in particular, because the game is advertised in certain ways that Helldivers are supposedly the best of the best of the best, right? Like they say that, and of course it's satire. Yeah. You're not supposed to be the best of the best of the best, but you're basically worshipped by like citizens and Thief soldiers, right? It's like everyone aspires to be a Helldiver, even in the lore of this game. And Helldivers are the butt of the joke in the marketing, where because it's all based off of like propaganda, it's selling you this idea that you're the elites, or at least in the trailers, this is how I see it. You're not, because you're still just a bumbling buffoon that gets yourself killed in the first 2 minutes of combat, you know?
I think I understood, right? The idea, the selling point of the game is that you are kind of a grunt with a whole bunch of really, really OP weapons.
Well,
and yeah, like it says it on the box art too, like you get overpowered weapons and then also facing insurmountable odds. So like, that's honestly to me kind of an oxymoron on their box art,
right? Which
to me would mean that, well, if they're too overpowered, then it's not insurmountable odds. And if it's too insurmountable, then it's not very overpowered. So basically, they just cancel out. It's like meeting a unstoppable. It's an unstoppable force meeting an immovable object.
Yes.
Kind of deal, right?
Yeah. No, I agree. I agree. I agree that it's an oxymoron, because it's the advertisements that I've seen from Arrowhead Studios are both, where it kind of says, hey, you're this expendable soldier that you're not, like the whole advertising is you are not a named character. You're not the main character here. You are a grunt in this fascist military. You're the equivalent of a stormtrooper, right? Except for you're a little higher grade than a stormtrooper. I know stormtroopers in Star Wars are the elite troopers. That's why they're called stormtroopers, not just a trooper. I don't want to talk on and on about Star Wars, but that's who we're, like, in my eyes, we're supposed to be. Star Wars stormtroopers are elites, you know, and it's ironic when I say that because you know from watching the movies, these guys are clumsy buffoons that just wander all over the place. And I think
they appear to be.
Yeah, I think Johan Pielestedt made a statement a while ago, especially during the launch of the game, like the early days, about how, what if you were a stormtrooper with no plot armor? And I think the idea is you can get killed very easily in this game. It's a meat grinder, and the Helldiver you played, as soon as they die, that's it. You're gone.
Yeah, so I think but at the same time, like in their main trailer, this was the funny thing.
Yeah.
So now that you brought up marketing and statements from the devs, the cinematic trailer for the game, it showed a Helldiver one-shotting a Bile Titan with a recoilless rifle.
Yeah.
And in the past, I don't think you could do that. They had to buff the recoilless rifle.
No, that's true. But you're still expendable. That's the thing about it, is like Helldivers themselves, you, the person, is the expendable part. But your destroyer isn't. That's why your stratagems, I would say, are so freakishly powerful, because you're just there to kind of be a beacon for them. Like, literally, because that's what you're throwing out, is beacons. It's not your power that's doing it, it's your destroyer doing all the work for you. And your destroyer will literally just abandon you if you spend too much time.
Yeah. One of the reasons why I think it's so confusing is because they don't just leave anything alone. Like, eventually down the line, they make a certain weapon worse to use either by reworking the gun or reworking the enemies around the gun. It's not even with guns or enemies that are new, right? It's with pre-existing ones. Like, I think let me think of a really good example that's not the Coyote, right? Because that's the one everybody is talking about.
We could talk about the Eruptor. I can't think of
different reworks.
I can't think of another weapon that has been changed more than the Eruptor. Let me just pull it up, because yeah, it genuinely is. It's been changed so much. Oh my gosh, yeah. You go look at the change history on the wiki, and you can see there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9
6, 7.
Changes. Huh? I was counting up. That doesn't count.
It doesn't.
Yeah, so there was, well, not 9 changes, because the first patch here was when it was added. So 8 changes in total. That's a lot. That's a lot of changes.
Yeah.
To one gun.
With the other part about it too, that's like also extremely frustrating, is that each time, and correct me if I'm wrong, there wasn't really strong communication of what they were going to do, right? It was always, this is what we did change, not what we're going to or why, right?
Or what they think the weapon should do and what role it should fit.
Yeah.
I agree. I think there is a very large disconnect between the players' expectations and the developers' expectations, because they don't tell us what their expectations are or what their vision for a new added piece of content is, right? Like, they made the Coyote. That's not something the community made. They were the ones that added it into the game, and then they nerfed it because they believed that the Coyote disagreed with their balance philosophy, which is super odd to me, because why did you add this in the game like that anyway, And why did you feel inclined to nerf it after adding it the way you made it, right? That feels incredibly contradictory, and that does feel like you have an identity crisis, because you were willing to release a piece of content and you were confident about it, but once people started liking the content, then you felt less confident about it because you were worried that, oh no, people are going to get kicked, or oh no, this is going to be used too much and people are going to get bored because it's too easy now, And so their worry kind of gets in the way, I feel like, of designing a weapon that is powerful enough. And when they design weapons and people actually like it, they can't tell if that addition to the game is a good addition and that everything else is just weaker by comparison, or it genuinely is overpowered. I don't think they are able to tell because, well, they don't communicate. They didn't tell me or you or anyone in the community what the purpose of the Coyote was supposed to be, right? They didn't tell us that. They just released it and said, here you go, and then changed it after we expressed we liked the gun, which feels really, really whack. That doesn't make me feel confident that they know what they're doing, because they didn't tell me what they were doing to begin with.
Yeah, that's true.
And the Eruptor is a living example of, like, they didn't know what they were doing with the gun, because as soon as
what they were doing with the gun.
they got worried that players were going to get mad that the shrapnel killed them, so they removed the shrapnel, which was one of the most unique parts about that gun. And then it was just really, really crazy, because it's like, you changed so much stuff about this gun that you weren't confident about it. Like, is this supposed to be a long-range explosive device, or is it supposed to be a close to mid-range small explosion, you know? Like, it's like they couldn't decide if this weapon was supposed to be far range. But yeah, it's like, I really think they didn't know what they were doing with that weapon.
Yeah. So the thing I would like to move on to is why does Arrowhead make these decisions that confuse the heck out of people? Well, one of the things that I kind of feel like the community itself has an identity crisis, right? As you can see, there's a ton of people who like the game right now as it is.
Yeah.
And there's plenty of people who don't like how it plays right now, want it to be improved. I can't imagine it's easy for Arrowhead to just pick which side to listen, right? Because I think both are equally, and depending on maybe even certain hours of the day, one voice would be louder or the other.
There's a lot of people in this community that like the game, and there's a big audience out there just waiting to see content for the game, and they will be back when there's a new content update. It has happened time and time again, where something new comes out and it's exciting. You see huge player counts. Right now, there's not really anything going on in the game, and so a lot of players have kind of just left again.
Yeah.
But it's always this kind of up and down cycle where kind of the dead zone in content, and then new content shows up and it spikes up again.
Yeah, and I think that everyone pretty much understands the cycle.
Yeah, and the thing I'm seeing right now is very similar to the 60-day patch, where we had very low player counts right before the 60-day patch. But even though we had the 60-day patch, it didn't last that long either. We still had to wait for new content and new events. That's why I think Arrowhead keeps pushing stuff out, even though it's unpolished, which creates these contradictions and this loss of identity, because they rush stuff and they contradict themselves. Like the War Strider, I feel like that was a rushed piece of content. Flesh mobs, I felt like were rushed, you know? I also felt like dragons, the bug dragons, were rushed. None of those felt good to fight, and all of them felt unfinished. You're telling me that you're making a game that's realistic, and this dragon, and you're telling me that I can't kill this dragon by stripping its wings off? It's these little things that, like, because you are, and I believe them. Like, I believe Arrowhead is making honest mistakes because they're worried about the performance of their game. They see the player counts dropping, and they're like, oh no, we need new content ASAP, and so they release it. And because there's huge numbers of players and stuff and whatever, and then they get worried, oh no, players might kick other players and we want a wholesome community, so they try and nerf things, you know? I think everything Arrowhead's done is out of good intent. Like, they're trying to make it a more civil environment, but the ironic
100%.
thing, I agree with that, but I think the ironic thing that has happened is that because they're trying to just, it's because I think they lack confidence. I don't think they're incompetent, but I do think they lack confidence in their updates.
I guess, okay. We could bring up the coyote again. Like, you were somebody who said you didn't really like it.
No.
Not because it was unbalanced or unfair, but because it was just not a play style that you enjoyed.
It
right?
wasn't that it wasn't a play style that I didn't enjoy. I felt like the gun wasn't very fun to use.
You basically gave Arrowhead a message that said you didn't like the coyote.
Yes.
Right? So some people in the community could interpret that as like, oh, he got the coyote nerf, and
that I was the one that made them nerf it.
Yeah.
No, that's insane. If people think that I'm the one that got the coyote nerf, they've got me backwards. I didn't like the coyote because I thought it was weak.
The mixed messages sometimes are misinterpretation, right? So the community looked at your video and went Glaze Diver, right? Even though you were saying that the gun should, not the gun should be buffed, but that you don't like it in its current state because the ergonomics feel really low.
Yeah.
And the community took it as, took it completely the wrong direction, right? So if the community can do that, well, Arrowhead, them being human as well as the community, is gonna do something very similar. And one of the things that I'm gonna critique is that people who give the messages aren't very clear. They are not very clear about what they want as a member of the community. Yeah. And so the thing that it does is it opens it up, right? It opens it up for interpretation. You can make mistakes interpreting, right? That's very simple. Okay, I do want to talk about another point, though, that's regarding the community. The direction that people also want the game to go, right? Like, for example, with Chick-fil-A, is we want the game to get harder, but at the same time, feel fair. So, and like we touched on in our previous video, I believe that Arrowhead is getting a little bit confused because the way they see the game getting more difficult is with primary balance or with enemy balance. And that's just not a good way to do it because you're going to be forever in a loop, especially with the way that things have been going already. Like, they've already looped. They've already retouched guns that they basically said they weren't going to touch, or they rebalanced a bunch of weapons that were even touched on in the 60-day patch.
Well, can I actually add to that? A buff where you also trade off something, like that you have a trade-off or like some sort of drawback. A lot of people say like, oh, that's monkey paw balancing or something, and like that's not good for or healthy for the game. But I like to call that a rework because you're not really balancing the gun because you're effectively keeping it in the same spot because you're giving it drawbacks for the benefits that you are giving it. Yeah. I really just wish they would go for flat buffs sometimes because some guns genuinely do need it. Like, as much as I praise the majority of the guns in Helldivers 2, there are some guns that still need to be looked at because they just don't feel good. What do you think we as a community need to do to help alleviate the problem with this situation? And what do you think Arrowhead needs to do to not have an identity crisis?
With the community, what they can do to help is just be absolutely clear what they want. Arrowhead needs to pick a primary source of advice, right? Because Arrowhead has a broad community, they have to pay attention to everybody, right? And my suggestion is not everybody's important, right? Like the commenter that's saying like, hey, Arrowhead is being malicious or something, right? That's not worth listening to, right? So basically the glaze diver, cry diver argument, if you see somebody using those in their vocabulary, like that's not good feedback. That's not
it's like not a worthy suggestion.
Yeah, to add on to your point, they already did something really, really good, right? Or they confirmed something really, really good. And if it goes as well as I hope it will, it would probably be a very welcome change. And that's the beta testing servers, right? From what they've said, they're planning on opening up even further than it already is and opening up feedback even more, right? So people who have direct access to the game and basically kind of getting a collage of different people's opinions. Like if there's like a big reaction, it's like, no, we hate this new mob or something, right? In a test server, then, obviously rework it.
Yeah.
So it's like the solution for Arrowhead's part is to just keep listening, right? Like you've been doing a good job, and people keep complaining about the game, and it's not complaining, it's the way they're complaining about it, right? Them giving like threats or throwing insults at the devs, like, have you guys ever convinced anybody to do anything for you? That's not how people respond to criticism, right? Especially criticism like that. If you go like, oh, these guys are a bunch of morons, they're so stupid, they're dumb, right? Like, I think I agree somewhat where if Arrowhead can't take it, then they still will fail. But the way I want Arrowhead to take it is ignore these people, right? Because these people, they don't have Arrowhead's interest at heart, right? Heck, I don't even know if they like playing the game that they say they play.
Yeah.
So it is kind of interesting seeing that these people are like basically calling the developers stupid, but then they're expecting them to just take it and then improve the game, and then they don't even suggest what really is their improvement. They're just like, oh, this is a bad change. Okay, why? I just feel like it. It's very sad to see people basically just call Arrowhead really, like, you know, stupid and stuff. Like, there's still real people behind the logo and stuff, right? Like, it's not just Pilasted, it's not just Shams Georgiani. So it's really frustrating to see that that's what people think is going to work, is that if we just complain hard enough, that maybe they'll actually change something, right? And yeah. I think people need a reality check. That's not how you convince people to do anything for you. If you acknowledge that something, there's a difference between acknowledging something as a bad change and then just being like borderline harassing, right? Like, if you just stop and try to just like be very clear what you actually want and just communicate that, I think Arrowhead will respond a lot more effectively to that than if you were just to insult them, right?
Well, because I wanted to add to that as well. Insults reduce speed and reduce the capabilities to actually receive feedback. If you make people feel unwelcome, like you are hurting their feelings and insulting them, they don't want to interact with you. You don't want them.
My response is to spite you, right? Like, if I'm called a name, like, for example, if I was called like a glaze diver and I didn't think I was a glaze diver, well, guess what I'm doing? I'm going to double down.
But yeah, in order to kind of wrap this all up, what I think the community should do is keep giving feedback. Don't stop, but make sure it is clear and constructive. Let us know what you guys would like us to talk about next, and just kind of discuss with us in the comments too. We want you guys to leave your feedback to not only us, but also to Arrowhead as well. Make sure it's constructive, and if you enjoyed the video, be sure to leave a like, and if you want to see more conversations like this, be sure to subscribe. It helps a ton, and it means a lot.